All right. So I've got some other questions here and some people showing up here. Esther said, could you give an example of a time when you had to explain something complex or technical to a frustrated colleague, and how did you handle this delicate situation? That's actually a really good question. So this definitely happens from time to time, especially in my line of work. I can give you a specific example. There was a time when I was an information system security officer, and it's more policy oriented, right? It doesn't typically get complex or technical. But I worked with a team of other security compliance people, and our focus was mostly policy, the NIST policies, NIST 800, risk management framework, stuff like that. And every now and then we have to reach out to our other colleagues, other departments who are very technical. Like we had firewall people, we had network people, and the people who we talked to the most were network people, because we were on the network where we was extremely, it needed a lot of work security wise. It needed a lot of work because the federal government started really cracking down on things like HTTPS, and they start cracking down on, they're just getting hacked a lot, right? It's getting volatile out there. It had just this storm of other countries attacking each other, right? It's happening right now, and that's what you're seeing. That's why all this news about all these countries, like what's happening is there's an information war going on right now. That's what's happening. And countries are taking any advantage that they can to pull other countries down a notch. So they're attacking infrastructure, they're attacking networks. So that's why the federal government is going crazy on locking down federal networks. And that's why places like pipelines and Target and all these other hospitals are getting taken out, right? Because they don't have the same level of scrutiny that, say, the Department of Defense does, or NASA, or whoever does, right? Because they've been getting attacked for years. NASA, Department of Defense, you name it, FAA, they've been getting attacked for years, and they're a huge target. So they had to learn the hard way years ago, years ago. And that's not to say they're not still getting attacked. They are, but now the hackers and state-sponsored cyber criminals are having to attack all these soft targets. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. So our security compliance team had to talk to this very technical group of network specialists. And one of my colleagues was not a very technical guy. And the other team would explain something technical to him, and he didn't understand. And he would come back with what's basically nonsense because he didn't understand what was going on. So I'd have to intervene and explain. But it already had gone so far that they were attacking each other on email, which is not professional at all. And so they're already attacking each other because my colleague, who is the cybersecurity, the security compliance guy, who's not technical, keeps kind of repeating the policy, and the technical person is trying to explain, no, this is not how it works. This is why we cannot, this is not going to work. So then they stopped talking to this guy and they start talking to me instead. And I said, okay, I get what you're saying. Now, in order for me to understand what the technical person was saying, I had to actually do some research. I actually had to go read and polish up on some of my old networking skills. And so, but your question is, how do you explain it to somebody who's non-technical? So this is one of the things I have to do a lot. As a cybersecurity person, especially if you're an ISO, if you're an information system security officer, if you're in a role like a information system security officer and many other cybersecurity consulting jobs, this role is going to have you talking to the CIO, who's not usually super technical and wants things brief, like they want you to get to the point. And then you're having to talk to the managers, who are usually not super technical. Every now and then you get some brilliant freaking manager guy in there who has a CISSP and is super smart on, so you can't BS him or whatever. But then you have to also switch gears and talk to a technical person. And this is lost on some security compliance people. And that always surprises me that they're still in this field, that they haven't learned to communicate with people. What I normally do is I speak the language of the person I'm talking to. If it's the CIO, they want an executive summary. They don't want you to get in the weeds. It's actually not good to get in the weeds with with the CIO. Unless they are asking you a specific question that is technical, then you either answer the question if you can, or have a technical person right there by your side ready for them to explain it, right? Another thing I'll do is before a meeting with this person who is not technical, I will try to explain it like I'm teaching it, but not condescending, but explain it in plain English with no acronyms, like if you're explaining TCP/IP, right? That's basically the internet. So you don't want to say TCP/IP, you want to say internet connection. If they go in the weeds and say, well, what's the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, right? Then okay, you can go ahead and explain the differences between those two things, and that's a little bit technical. The fact that they know what HTTP and HTTPS is, and there's a difference between those two things, tells you right away, okay, this person has a different level of knowledge. But if they don't, you don't want to be spouting off all this TCP/IP as little as possible. So I try to speak to the audience in their language. If I'm speaking to a manager, you can get a little bit in the weeds with a manager, but they're usually thinking on operational terms. So you want to speak their language. If you're talking to a technical person, you want to speak their language. A technical person isn't focused on policy, right? A lot of those guys think that policy is a waste of time. So you want to speak their language. If they don't understand, like a lot of times the problem I have is not explaining to a non-technical person something that's technical. I usually don't have a problem with that because of this. I think it's because of this interaction right here. Because whenever I try to, a lot of times when I learn, I'm learning in such a way that I could explain it to someone else. And I don't feel like I've learned it until I could explain it to like 3 different levels of people, if that makes any sense. I need to be able to explain to a technical person so it doesn't look like that I don't know what I'm talking about. I need to be able to explain it to a manager, and I need to be able to explain it to a layperson, like a CIO who may not know all this jargon, right? I need to explain it to those 3 levels of people. So what I do is whenever I learn something, I'm learning it so that I can explain it to someone else, because it's super important in cybersecurity. The number one thing is be patient. Be patient. Do not be condescending. And understand that everybody learns in a different way. Some people are not technical. And I think that a lot of times IT people, they think that they're the smartest person in the room. And so they'll talk down to a whole bunch of people who they feel are not on their level, right? That's the wrong attitude. Some cybersecurity policy guys, they walk around like they're cops, like they have a badge and they want to show their badge to everybody. And that's also not the right way to go about this. The way you want to speak to anyone is like you're on their team. When you speak as we, as us, as what we did, how can we do this? This is the way I understand it. Basically, you're putting that perspective in there. You're changing. When you shift that perspective, man, it has such an impact on people. They know that you're on their team, right? Even if you're an auditor, you can even do that if you're an auditor. So they know, look, I'm not here to get you. We're here to point out vulnerabilities so we can get this system better, so that we don't get attacked by some outside agency, right? We use that we. So don't be condescending. Number 1, you're not the smartest person in the room, right? Use different perspectives. Use we. Like, I'm on your team. Be patient and realize that everybody has a different language based on their role. Not everybody has this language that we have. Like, you guys understand what I'm saying if I start talking about TCP/IP or networking or cybersecurity stuff or, hacking or whatever. You guys understand it, the people watching this, but we got to understand, like, most of the people we talk to don't understand any of this stuff, right? Don't understand any of it and don't want to take the time, don't have the time to understand it. Only need to know, hey, did you secure our system and how and when? When is it going to be done? How much money is it going to cost, right? They want to get to the point if it's a CIO or CEO. Okay. I think I answered that question. I hope that answered the question. That's my perspective on it, Esther. A little bit long-winded on that one. Hey, Navi, how are you doing? Andrew Wright says, no one wants to feel stupid. Once you've communicated respect for the person's unique skill set, things get easier. Exactly, Andrew. That's exactly how I feel. It's respect. It's what it comes down to. Respecting the other person's their own level, right? They might be a program manager is on 3 or 4 different projects. Just because they don't know HTTPS or the FTP or SFTP or whatever, right? Doesn't mean that they're stupid. Like, approach them with respect and they'll reciprocate that respect. And that right there, that word right there sums it up, Andrew. All right, so thank you for that. Respect, that's the name of the game.